In the show Invincible, the Sequids are a parasitic species from the planet Mars. They are completely harmless unless they can get a hold of a body and use its mind to activate their hive consciousness. In order to do this, they have to physically attach themselves to a person's brain, either directly through their skin or their mouth. Once activated as a hive mind, they are incredibly powerful. They can leverage their massive size to beat pretty much any superhero. Because of the Martian shape-shifting abilities, the Sequids are unable to get access to their brain and mind control them. Furthermore, the Viltrumite skin is too durable to be pierced by the Sequids, and thus they are also safe from becoming a host mind. It is safe to assume that any one person with durable enough skin would also be safe from being mind controlled by the Sequids. We do not know everything about the origin of the Sequids. However, we do know several things from their history. At some point in the past, the Sequids created a massive hive mind that traveled across the galaxy, leaving a path of destruction. Most likely, they went from planet to planet, adding as many host bodies to their hive mind as they possibly could. Then at some point later in their future, they crashed on Mars in a heavily damaged spaceship. They then proceeded to battle the Martians for about a century until all of their host bodies just simply died of old age. They then lost their hive mind and was left scattered and weak on Mars for the Martians to do pretty much whatever they wanted with them. The reason that the Sequids ended up in a position where they had to crash on Mars is a little bit unclear. However, I do have a few theories at how this happened. If you picture a parasitic species like the Sequids traveling throughout the galaxy, it would continue to consume more and more and thus get larger and larger, and at some point it would have to hit some type of a critical mass. They would get to a point where they can't consume planets fast enough to maintain their population. Hosts would begin to die of old age faster than they can be replaced, and they would be unable to find enough food and resources to support their massive population. At this point, I do believe they would have to start cannibalizing themselves and probably consume host bodies to maintain themselves. And if they go long enough not being able to find fresh planets, they would eventually just completely collapse. When they finally made it to Mars, this could have been after a long journey of slowly declining as a species. Another possibility is that the Viltrumites defeated them in a battle. The Sequids would no doubt be huge competition to the Viltrumites. The Viltrumites can't be host bodies and are the strongest empire in the galaxy, so no doubt they would be the ones that would be able to defeat the Sequids. Perhaps the Sequids that we see landing on Mars are the last few survivors of this conflict. But either way, those are just two of my guesses. Once the Sequids were defeated on Mars, they became a slave class to the Martians. They were easy to control and could follow basic commands. As well, the Martians did experiments on them to make them stronger so that they would be more effective at completing tasks. After several hundred years, some Martians began to doubt the story of where the Sequids came from. And you get a portion of the Martians that believe the Sequids should be allowed to have a hive mind and essentially become free. And this leads in directly to when the astronauts, guided by Invincible, make it to Mars. The Martians wanted to kill the astronauts because they feared that the Sequids could become a hive mind again. But as we know, in both the comics and in the TV show, the astronaut Russ Livingston is infected with the Sequid. And this leads to the hive mind being reformed, and thus it can launch its war on Mars and then eventually Earth, which is a major conflict in the comic books and I have no doubt will be one in the TV show as well. One of the things that I find so strange about the Sequids is that they only become a hive mind when they take control of a host body, and then they just expand, destroying everything in their path. This strange behavior makes me think that perhaps they were originally created as a weapon by an alien species. They could be handled safely while not as a hive mind, and then they could be dropped onto an enemy planet and take over almost immediately, destroying them completely. Furthermore, we know that certain mental psychic attacks can disrupt the hive mind temporarily. Perhaps this was built in as a way to disarm them after they had completed their purpose. Then most likely they just got out of control after a while and began to take over. However, if they did evolve naturally, they probably just hitched a ride off of their planet after the first spacefaring species arrived to it. Either way, those are just my thoughts about the Sequids and some of my theories about their backstory. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.